each person's scenario will be different, right? I strongly believe if you don't have something else or a backend financially to make sure that you're still able to like sustain your expenses, because like I said, Canadian US expenses, they're not going to wait for you.
No.
You have to think through it very logically, like put pen to paper, calculate your expenses, and all of that. Typically, I always recommend that find it first while you still have something. See, while you have a job, right? I feel like that's the best time to find yourself. Why? Because there's less pressure. You have income coming in, right? Your finances have been sorted out. You have the time to take the time it needs to identify, okay, what is the right path for me, right? So typically that's how I recommend that people balance it out. However, if you're working in a toxic environment, right, and you just can't take it anymore, again, like I said, personally, check your accounts. You have what it takes to sustain, right? Unless you are just going to quit anyways. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, unless you're just going to quit, right? And then, but, what I recommend is if you can stay in a job or stay afloat financially, start discovering your path, right? Start that introspective thinking. Think about yourself. Think about the things that come to you naturally. Take those tests. Talk to people around you to find out, what do you think are the things that you see that I'm good at? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Notice about me. You know what I'm saying? People around you usually have a pretty good gauge. Pelumi is great at this thing. This thing comes to the Pelumi so naturally. You know what I'm saying? Talk to people around you to start finding out that information while you still have something, right? And then through that, start to make that transition. Typically, that's what I recommend.
No, I love that. I love that you said talk to people around you, because that was what I was going to ask you next. When someone gave me this advice years ago, or when I read books when you're talking about aligning, what your career with something that gives you joy, aligns with your person, like you said, I was like, okay, but who is Kepo's person? I don't know. The person said, I think someone said something along the lines of, what comes to you naturally that doesn't come to others naturally, like you said. I was like, I don't know, because it comes so naturally to me that I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Some things about us are so ingrained, and we take it for granted. We just think, oh, really? That's something that people struggle with. So to your point about asking around, this is what I did years ago. I actually chose like 15 people, maybe former colleagues, close friends, and family. And I just said to them, what would what's one problem that somebody will come to you with and you will say, go to Kepo, she'll solve this thing for you. And that was something that it was an eye opener. I was like, really? People, this is a problem for people, right? So I so love that. Do you have any other prompts that people can, ask people around them, or any other tactical advice around that?
One of the things that I did was I started to write down on a piece of paper, what are the things that I would enjoy doing in a job? It was not tied to a role. I wasn't thinking about a role or a title. What are the things that I would enjoy doing in the job? For me, one of those things was presentations. This was years ago, right? I didn't have the level of seniority or even a view on strategy as I do now, right? So I would just think, what are the things I would enjoy doing in the job? So was some of the most mundane things, right? I would love to sit in a room and brainstorm on problems together, right? And, work towards identifying how we would solve that problem. If you kind of think about that, that is strategy. That's exactly all that strategy is.
Yes.
Right? You know what I'm saying? But at that point in time, I did not know what that was. Right? But I wrote it down. These are the things that I would want to do. So I would ask yourself as well, what are those things that you think you'd enjoy? Write it down. Write it down. Take that exercise. Of course, in addition to like asking people the things that come to you naturally or the things that they see that you're good at, typically?
You said write it down. And I know people will listen to this thing or they're watching and it will just gloss over their head. Okay, write it down. No, you will write it down. There is something magical and honestly productive that just happens when you write it down. When you start to write out, or Pelumi, you can correct me if that's not been your experience, but there is something about writing it down. The more exactly, look at your board. There's something about writing it down. The more you write it down, the clearer it becomes. First of all, you empty your brain of all that clutter so that there is even more room for creativity to flow, right? And once you start writing, you may even start like, oh my gosh, yeah, I never thought about this one. And then you start writing more of that out. Do not, like, these things are so simple. And because they're so simple, they're so easy to do, but they're just as easy not to do.
Yeah, right? I agree.
No, so, okay. Another one that came to my mind as you were talking. Okay, you know how you said the best time to find a job is when you have a job, right? But what if the answer is not even finding another job, right? How would someone distinguish between, okay, I'm just in a rut right now that has nothing to do with my job, and there's some things I need to fix, and this actual job that I'm in is actually going to light me up. And I'm sitting on a great opportunity here versus, okay, no, it's actually time for an actual career shift. How can someone distinguish between, oh, I'm just in a rut, right? I don't need a career move. I'm just in a rut. I need to figure out what's going on here. And I'm actually in the best place that I could be right now versus, because we always have this thing that we think the grass is greener on the other side. And sometimes it is. A lot of times it is. But how do you distinguish between, no, stay where you are, there's just something you need to fix, versus, no, it's actually time for a career change or to pivot, to go somewhere else?
Right. So you always want to start with identifying why you're feeling the way you're feeling, right? We call it root cause analysis, right? In my line of work, right? You want to identify what that is. And obviously, what that is dependent on the person would differ, right? Now, I want to put a word of caution out there. There is something extremely limiting about comfort, about being in your comfort zone, right? So while you might think you don't need a move because everything seems cool with where you are, doesn't mean that it's not time for a move, right? Because you will never find the growth you're looking for within your comfort zone. You just don't, right? Until you stretch, you wouldn't really understand the true capacity that you have, right? I mean, you recently started your business as well, Kepo.
Mm-hmm.
That's
no joke. It's no joke.